Welcome back. In this portion of today's lecture, what we want to talk about is the communications process and the promotional mix. So let's start with a definition of what we call media. And there are three types of media that we want to be concerned with. We talk about paid media, earned media, and owned media. Paid media is traditional media. That's your television, your radio, your newspapers, your magazines. Any form of traditional communications is paid media, okay? What we're doing is we're buying space. And even pay-per-click or promoted tweets on Twitter, those are still paid media. So it's very traditional. We pay somebody to put our message out there. We also have earned media. Now, earned media can take place in the offline and the online world. So if we get a review in the Washington Post or we get a review on VentureBeat, they're both forms of earned media. Okay. To get earned media, we use publicity and public relations. And what we're trying to do is get people talking about us. We're trying to get that word of mouth going. So if you think about earned media is really where we start to see things like buzz take off. Or when we talk about we want a viral campaign, we generally try and do it using earned media. You know, one story then spirals. Well, that starts to get you into that category of viral. Okay, so we've got paid media, which is more traditional, both on and offline. Okay, earned media, on and offline, where somebody else covers the story. We're not paying for it. And then the new one we've got is owned media. And owned media is when we publish our own content. Now that's really been made possible with the advent of the internet, but most importantly with the advent of social media. So today, what companies do is they've got their own Facebook page where they're publishing information about themselves. They've got their own Twitter account where they're tweeting out information and responding to tweets from customers. They've got probably their own Instagram account where they're taking pictures of their product. They've got their own Kick account if they want, okay, if that fits with what they're up to. What they'll take a look at YouTube, I forgot about YouTube, okay? They'll have their own YouTube account where they're posting videos, how to use the product, how to repair the product. They'll have blogs that go up about product usage and alternate ways to use the product. Any form of communication, and it's almost exclusively online, okay, through social media that we do as the marketer, that's called owned media, okay? We're not buying space from somebody else. That takes us back to paid. This is stuff we're producing. And we know in today's voracious environment for information that the more earned media, the more owned media we put out, the much better off we are getting our message to consumers. And especially if we have a problem, owned media helps make sure we get our perspective across and are not wholly dependent on traditional media sources and the publicity and the PR side. In communications, we've got 4 goals, okay? The first is we want to capture the person's attention. We've got to find a way to cut through all that noise that's out there and make the consumer pay attention to our ads. Now that noise is also internal. If a customer is not interested in your product, they're not going to pay attention to it. So you can run 1 million ads for a product that nobody's interested in, and next to nobody's going to notice it because it doesn't get above that threshold we have mentally of being important to us. Car ads are a great example of this. We run car ads all the time because we know people are buying cars all the time. But if you take a look at the research, people don't start paying attention to a car ad until they've decided, oh yeah, I want to buy a new car. Or more importantly, after they bought a car and they're looking for reinforcement that they haven't made the mistake of their lives. Okay, so that's attention. We've got to get through the clutter. The next thing we have to do is stimulate the consumer's interest. we have to know, and this is where marketing research comes in, we have to know what does the consumer think is important when they're making a decision. So in your last behavioral project, or the little assignment you did for me, one of the big comments I had is, okay, so tell me how, or tell me the factors consumers use when they're thinking of buying. Well, that's the interest side. What interests them? So let's use our car example again. If you've got somebody who's a real performance person, your communication will stress things like engine power. It'll talk about the torque of the engine. It'll talk about how many RPMs it produces X horsepower. Okay, or how many RPMs produce X horsepower. Okay, it'll talk about all of that part to get their interest. But if you've got somebody who's interested in the safety of the vehicle, they're not going to pay attention to that ad, because to them, that's not a differentiator between vehicles for them. And it's not something they're using to make their decision. So instead, you want to focus on the safety side. Anti-lock brakes, daylight running lights, airbags, side impact protection, rollover protection. You want to focus on as many of the safety things as you can to get their interest. Now, once you've got their interest, the next thing to do is you have to desire your product. So now you really need to know not just what they're interested in, but specifically what they're interested in. So let's take our performance enthusiast before. Our performance enthusiast may be interested in the torque produced by the engine because they want to do some towing. Okay, so they want to know the torque. So when we get to this point, we want to find out specifically and then sell them on the torque. The safety person might be interested in just the airbags. So we want to talk to them about how many airbags, how quickly they deploy, if they're multi-speed or not. What you're looking for is anything you can think of that's related to what they're interested in. That hits their desire. And once that's done, then you want an action. Well, here's where, if you're doing a personal sale, you ask for the sale. Or if we're doing some other type, we'll tell them where to go to buy the product. Or we may even give them an 800 number or a website to click. But what we want them to do is take some sort of action which completes the sequence. So it's attention, interest, desire, action, ADA is what it's called. If you take a look, different forms of communication fit differently into that ADA model. Advertising, for example, is fantastic for getting people's attention and gaining their interest. Now, the way we use it to gain attention is we try and do something new and unusual. Okay. This time, let me use a Geico ad. If you take a look at Geico, Geico is really good at getting people's attention. And the way they do it is two ways. One is they've got the little gecko who walks around. People love paying attention to the gecko, okay? Because animated animals and people are just drawn to them. But the other way they do it is they'll start a commercial so it doesn't even look like it's for insurance. And then they'll go, as long as people are doing X, they'll still buy Geico. There'll still be a need for Geico. Well, what they're doing is they're finding a way to cut through all that clutter by coming up with something that people are going, I don't understand. I've got to pay attention to this to see what this is about. Oh, it's about Geico. Okay, now you've got their attention. Then what we need to do is interest. Well, what are people interested in? Well, if you listen to Geico, saving money. Most insurance companies do that, okay? Except Allstate. Allstate's more, not so much about saving you money. They're about accident forgiveness. They're about not leaving you out in the cold. They're more about extended service than Geico, which is just about, I'm going to save you money on your car insurance. Okay. So what they've done is they've targeted to the consumers that are looking for that. Okay. But that's what advertising works best for, attention and interest. Public relations, attention and interest as well. Okay. If you're just trying to wave your arms around and say, hey, look at us, we've got something new and exciting. Look at us over here. Woohoo! PR is usually really effective. And usually it's very effective if you tee it with a strong advertising campaign. Sales promotion. So we're in the store. We're looking at something. Well, that's good for desire and action. Think about the last time you went to the grocery store and they're handing out samples. We know as marketers that if we give you a sample of something, there's like an 85-90% chance you'll buy the product. Okay? Because now what we've done is we've let you sample it. You've got a taste for it if it's what you want. So we've already had to pass through the attention and interest side to get you to try our product. Okay? You're not going to try a product. If I came along and said, I'm going to tell you Squiddos, which are squid balls, and you don't like squid or you don't like seafood, doesn't matter how great a promotion I've got, you're not going to try it. But if you like squid, you try it. Now I've got you I've had you desire to try it. You probably have a desire to eat it again. And the action we want you to take is to buy a box. So we make sure the box is right next to you. Okay? And we can improve your chances of buying it from our perspective by putting a coupon on it. Another form of sales promotion. We can get your odds up to like 95% that you'll buy it with a sample and a coupon. Now, if you go to Costco or Sam's Club, they do that all the time, especially on the weekends. That's why they're successful. You go to liquor stores, same thing. When you're trying to bring out a new liquor product, you want people to try it. Okay. Now, the secret is they've got to come back and buy it again, but at least get that first trial. Okay, so sales promotion, desire and action. Personal selling, interest, desire, and action. Okay? The beauty of personal selling is you can quickly tailor the message to the consumer and their needs. You can read their body language. Are they happy or are they mad? Okay? You can quickly determine what you need to say, and that'll move them through to the desired action. And the best part is with this one, the action, can I take you the order right now, or would you like it in blue? Okay? We can get that action brought out right away. Most rookie salespeople, the biggest mistake they make, they forget to ask for the sale. And that's the beauty of personal selling, is asking for the sale. So personal selling, interest, desire, and action. Social media is great for attention and interest. Okay? Social media, we can target out to somebody who we think, based upon all sorts of research we've done, is ready to purchase our product and reach them with a message. We can get their interest because, again, we know pretty much what they're looking for. We get their interest, okay? So social media is great for the attention and interest. All right. Last chapter, I talked to you a bit about how back in the early .com era, back in the 90s, when dinosaurs were roaming the earth, that online and traditional retail sales were different. So, online was very different looking than the offline. And then we quickly realized, no, we need to have more of an omni-channel, where no matter which way the consumer reaches us, it's the same message. It's the same thing. We've realized the same thing in promotion or in communications. And that's led to the rise of integrated marketing communications. At one time, what we'd have is our advertising strategy would do X, our sales promotion would do Y, our personal selling would do Z, and we had no idea what our publicity was doing. Well, what we found was that was sending mixed messages to consumers, causing all sorts of confusion. They didn't know who we are. They didn't know what we stood for. They couldn't tell us easily apart from our competition. So we said, enough of that. What we want to do is we're going to integrate all aspects of the promotion mix so they develop the same message. And that's integrated marketing communications. IMC, which we teach here, and you can go on and take, is the next logical place to go. Okay? In that response, in that environment, every message is identical, and we move people through the process. Okay? Okay. You're ready to put together a promotion mix. What do you have to think about when you're developing a promotion mix? Well, one, what's the nature of the product? And the first thing to do is figure out, is it a B2B or is it a B2C product? Now, for the most part, we stay on B2C here. But if it's a B2B product, how many customers have you got? How concentrated are they? You're probably going to find that in the B2B side, a lot of your promotion, especially if it's expensive and complicated, is you're going to have sales promotion. Are you going to have a lot of online? Maybe, maybe not. It depends. I mean, if you're selling some products, maybe. But if it's a really complicated product, probably not a lot. You will have a lot of owned media, though, because you're putting on all sorts of studies showing your product's great. But you're probably going to find that a lot of what you're doing is selling, personal selling. You're probably going to have some degree of publicity. Advertising, not as much. You don't see Boeing except on a rare occasion advertising, that what they sell to the U.S. government, because they don't need to. Usually when they're doing something like that, is to get at a broader theme. And usually I see those ads around Memorial Day, Labor Day, Veterans Day, days when they're really trying to talk about the role they play in a nation's security, and they're trying to show that. Okay. Now, if you're a B2C, it really comes down to how expensive is the product. If the product's pretty cheap, you're probably heavy into form of advertising and maybe some publicity. Okay. You might move up into promotion, but you're definitely not doing personal selling. It's just not worth it. Would you want to go to a liquor store and have a representative from every beer company there trying to sell you their beer? First of all, I can't think of anything more annoying than 50 or 75 people trying to talk to me at one time. Okay? But just think of the cost of that. A six-pack wouldn't be $8 anymore. It would be like $35. Well, nobody wants to pay $35 for a six-pack of beer, unless you live in Canada, in which case, that's just the normal price. Okay? So, you see more advertising. Now, as products get more expensive and more complicated in the B2C side, like cars, refrigerators, houses, in those cases, we see more of the personal selling side come in. Because at that point, we need somebody to explain it to us as a consumer. Okay? And we need somebody who can read our moods and get us shifted into the proper product. Okay? If you're looking at a low-end product like a six-pack of beer, there's not a lot you can do with that. We could sell you up the alcohol content or something, or put you into a craft beer. But if you're talking about a car, that's a pretty complicated purchase. Okay, do you need 2 or 4 doors? Do you need this size engine, that size engine? You've got all sorts of options that have to be explained. So it's the nature of the product. The second thing to concern yourself with is the stage in the product life cycle. In the earliest stages of the product life cycle, we're going to see a lot of personal selling, because you have to convince people that, hey, this thing does the job better than something else. Okay? You don't see a lot of advertising. If you do, it's very, very targeted to those innovators. All right? What you're trying to do is sell the innovators on the product. And remember, innovators don't like to be told what to do. So seeing advertising, bit of a drawback to them. Now, as you go through the life cycle, well, you see more and more advertising and more publicity come in. Okay? Because what you're trying to do is reach more and more consumers and remind them of certain things. Let them know that there are some benefits out there that you offer that nobody else does. So the stage of the product life cycle, in addition to the nature of the product, plays a role. Your target market characteristics also play a role. What does your target market expect? Does your target market expect personal contact? If they do, you're going to have to use more personal selling. Now, we've seen industries change that. Department stores used to be very high in personal selling, and they slowly dropped that down, because what they found was consumers went from wanting to have that personal selling side to wanting to save money. So as they said, we're willing to give up this to save money. Department stores said, no, not a problem. We'll just cut back the number of people, and we'll cut back on some other services, but that's what you want as a consumer. So what does your target market expect? If your target market is spread over a wide area, you're probably going to use a lot more advertising promotions than if it's concentrated. If you're concentrated, you could probably get away with more personal selling as well. Okay. The type of buying decision. Remember back, we talked about buying decision. Is this a habitual, low involvement, a high involvement? Well, if it's a habitual decision, that's where sales promotions come in great. Get their attention while they've got their hand on their wallet, and they'll buy something. That's why 67% of all grocery store sales tend to be based on impulse. Okay? But if it's starting to move up into more of an involvement purchase, then we need to do more personal selling. Okay. So if it's a habitual or low involvement advertising, sales promotions, publicity, but as we start to get up in the more high involvement, we'll still use those, but now you'll see personal selling creep into it. Okay. The next thing to consider is how much money have you got? If you don't have a lot of money, you look for the most effective way to reach the maximum number of customers. So you might do something that you might do everything online. New companies do that all the time. If you're looking for young consumers, that's a great place to do it because that's where they're looking. But if you're looking for a mix of consumers, now you're only reaching part of them, but it could be the biggest part of your market. So you have to take advantage of that. And last but not least, you have to determine if you want to use a push or a pull strategy. In a push strategy, what you do is you fill the distribution channel, the retailers and everybody else, with product, and then you hope they sell it out. To do that, you really want to rely on personal selling, sales promotions, okay? Because you're trying to get the people's attention because the product's already there. You're trying to get their attention when they're ready to buy and get them to switch to you. If you're using a pull-based system where you get the customers excited first and then get them to draw the product through the channels, well, there you're probably going to do more of an advertising and a promotion, sales promotion, publicity type of thing. Okay, public relations and publicity. Sorry, public relations, publicity, and advertising. If you're going to do more of a pull strategy, is what you're looking at. So now what you've got are 5, 6 different ways to look at how you're going to do your communication mix. The nature of the product, the stage of the life cycle, the target market's characteristics, the type of buying decision, how much money you've got, and is this going to be a push or a pull? Now that we've got that, we can turn our attention to more details. And over chapters 16, 17, and 18, we'll take a look at the 3 main areas in more detail. So that'll take us through the next few days. And after that, we have 1 chapter remaining. So after chapter 18, we have 1 chapter remaining. And it's the most fun chapter because it's about pricing. So make sure for chapter 19, you have your calculator ready, but that won't be till next week about this time. That's it for today. Have a look at a couple of the videos I've posted. And as always, if you have a comment, send it to me. That's what I'm here for. Have a great day.